Miller may be out for Florida State. That doesn't mean Alabama's in a jam.
You are Locked On Bama, your daily podcast on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back into Locked On Bama, AHSA Radio Network's Luke Robinson. That's me. Alabama internet legend Jimmy Stein. That's him. This episode is brought to you by Game Time. We'll talk about Game Time here in just a little bit. I want to thank you everydayers for being here every day. Thank you newbies for being here today. And thanks to everybody for making us first listen every single day. You guys are the best. So, Jimmy, Jam Miller, I mean, he's got a dislocated shoulder, something.
It's a collarbone. It's a collarbone issue.
We've seen people have said both, and I was trying to get the collarbone, and for whatever reason, the word escaped me. Sometimes I just forget words. I don't know why.
Some sort of fancy word for collarbone, but I just use collarbone.
Collar Maximus. Anyway, so he's going to be out a little bit. And look, as a guy going to Florida State, I hate it because I thought he was going to have a big game. I really did. But I know I would hate it even if I weren't going to Florida State. So that said, we talked a little bit yesterday, and there's a contingent of folks who still believe, hey, Richard Young's going to be the guy. Richard Young may get the start, and very well may. He's the sort of the elder statesman of the crew now. But I'm telling you, I keep hearing more and more and more good things about Daniel Hill that make me think he's going to get his share of the work, and along with Dre Washington. The two guys that I haven't heard mentioned as much as possible replacements are A.K. Deer and Kevin Riley. Little surprised that because I thought A.K. Deer may be a guy who could help a little bit, but it's going to shock me a little bit if I see him on the field against Florida State.
Yeah, maybe end of game situation. I would think with A.K. Deer, like most young backs, I would think the main issue with him is going to be pass protection. That's still something he's learning. All college backs, that's sort of new to them, particularly the complexity of it. Some people think, gosh, how hard could it be to learn how to block or get in the way? That's only part of it, but even the bigger part of it is the recognition. He's got to know from there where the pressure is coming from, who's unaccounted for, or who is accounted for that he might need to help on. It's the decision about where to be and who to block. And then there comes the time to make a block. Let's remember some of these guys that are getting to the quarterback are high-end NFL prospects that he's being asked to block. Imagine a running back, for instance, being asked back in 2022 to block Will Anderson. And now I don't know that Alabama's running backs are going to face a guy like that. But it's just a good reminder that that's not an easy thing to do, and it's really important. And that's why I think the young backs are unlikely to be out there. But Daniel Hill had some playing experience a year ago. Dre Washington's a senior. Richard Young is in his year 3. They're all big physical guys, especially Daniel Hill. So I anticipate it not being a big problem for Alabama. But I believe the primary back replacing Jam will be Rich Young, in part due to his veteran nature, his veteran status, and his ability to help block. Ty's going to throw the ball quite a bit. Like I said, I've been on record. I'm convinced of this. We're going to throw the ball more than we did a year ago. We were at 23, 24 attempts a game last year. I think that number is going to go all the way up to around, roughly 32 attempts a game.
Well, here's a couple of things. First of all, yeah, we were at 23, 24 attempts last year. I bet you we would have been more had we thrown it on plays we were supposed to throw it instead of the quarterback taking off.
Yeah, there might have been more. That's fair. There might have been more than 23, 24 called. And, hey, Ty's going to take off some.
Yeah.
I think, it's funny. If Ty wasn't replacing a guy like Jalen Milroe, we would be talking about his athleticism all the time. In fact, Alabama's taking a step back athletically at quarterback, yet you're still putting one of the better athletes in the league that play that position on the field. For instance, he's far more athletic than a guy like, let's say, Nussmeier, who's an excellent NFL prospect at LSU, and others. He's just a real mobile kid. I would say similar-ish to Jackson Dart, who similar in that way. Probably even more athletic than Jackson Dart, to be honest. So it's going to be a weapon for Alabama. We just don't talk about it as much because he's not Milroe in that regard.
And I watched some of Jackson Dart the other night, Giants versus Jets, and I thought he looked pretty doggone good. So give me a Jackson Dart all day. From Bama Online, they quoted a source saying, quote, Daniel Hill is just different. He's just different than anybody in Alabama's backfield. And we already kind of knew that. And different can be taken a lot of ways, but I take it as he's really good, and he just doesn't have the experience. Now,
he's much bigger. He's much bigger than anyone else in the room. Even AK Deer, he's much bigger than everybody else. Alabama doesn't have that. The other guys all look or are roughly. I mean, Kevin Riley's the lightest. Daniel Hill's the biggest. Mm-hmm. I would say Rich Young, Dre Washington, and AK Deer all weigh roughly the same, probably 10, 15 pounds difference at most.
Well, one thing that BOL threw in here, now again, this was just sort of like an afterthought almost. They're bragging on Daniel Hill from a source, and they said, it won't be a major surprise if Daniel Hill is RB1, which for FSU, which I get, and I think it will. I'm like you. I think they'll err on the side of caution with Richard Young because he's been in the program the longest. He's not necessarily the most experienced. I would go to Dre Washington, but he's sort of
it's his turn.
The best of both worlds, I guess.
And it's his turn. And believe it or not, people don't like hearing that for some reason, but that is kind of a thing in college sports and college football, and it is his turn.
Well, they threw this in there, though. It won't be a surprise if Daniel Hill is RB1, but Richard Young and Dre Washington also had a good day. And then it just like the end of the sentence was Young had a few long runs, and then there was no more elaboration on it. I was like, that seems like a part to go on about, to wax poetic.
Why are we going on and on about Daniel Hill if Rich had the long runs?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, I'm okay. Tell me about these. What is long run?
So much of I think the non-excitement about Richard Young. I mean, look at his career so far. He redshirts, which I'm not saying everybody holds that against players, but I do agree to some extent it dims excitement. It dims, oh gosh, we're bringing in a 5-star type back. I don't think he was 5 stars, but he was up there. And he redshirted. So that sort of dimmed excitement. Okay, year 2 last year. Now he's going to play, right? Well, he's RB3, but he's hurt. I mean, everybody acknowledges that when Rich Young played last year, he was sort of playing dinged up, banged up, even though he was the third guy. And he didn't do much last year on the field. There were a couple of highlight runs, by the way, but he didn't do anything on the field to generate excitement that he was going to be a dude. Well, he was hurt. I don't hold the red shirt against him. I don't hold the fact that he was kind of banged up and not looking super impressive while he was hurt. I don't hold that against him. I think there should be some level of excitement and enthusiasm about Rich Young, but we're in year 3 and people haven't been excited about him since he signed, based on how the last 2 years went. But this is his opportunity. Now, much as I think he'll get the start in Tallahassee, I do think from that point forward, it's going to be about production. If Daniel Hill or Dre Washington show out and Rich doesn't, then I think Daniel Hill or Dre Washington will be the guy in week 2 against Monroe. I mean, I think it's going to be earned on the field, though Rich Young probably gets the first shot.
Yeah, I think this is one of those things where, okay, it's your turn, but you got to do something with your turn. It's not your turn forever. It's your turn until it doesn't work out.
Yeah, leashes. I mean, people are upset. God, I don't want to talk about this on another show, but people are upset that Jalen Milroe had such a long leash last year. These leashes are earned over for various reasons. I don't think Rich Young's going to have some long leash. I mean, I just think like it's his turn. You get this opportunity, but you got to do something with it. If you don't, they've been excited enough clearly about Daniel Hill and Dre Washington to take a look at those guys. So I don't think it's just Rich Young's job and Daniel Hill and Dre are just going to sit over there on the sidelines with and collect dust. I think Rich is going to have to do something because these guys are kind of nipping at his heels.
You know, if you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts. And that's where DripDrop comes in. DripDrop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven method for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium electrolytes and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of the leading sports drink. Can you believe that? I can't. My go-to flavor is all of them. You know, it says on here, talk about your go-to. I don't care. I just pick it right out of the box they sent me. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. They all taste good. It's not like I prefer one to the other because they're all awesome. So I love all the flavors. You will too. It's super easy to make this stuff. Right now, DripDrop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. It's 20% off your first order. Just head to DripDrop.com and use promo code LockedOnCollege. That's DripDrop.com, promo code LockedOnCollege, all one word, for 20% off. Stock up now because it's still getting hotter and hotter and hotter and hotter. So other scrimmage stuff to report on. You know, I've seen a couple of folks that were at the scrimmage. I talked to a couple. We've seen some posting. I know you've talked to some people. They love the Grubb DeBoer dynamic.
Yeah.
You know, like it's something that was missing a little last year. Now, I'm not saying the record would have been any better had Ryan Grubb been there. I don't know that. I can't, say that, but the fact that that's
it's too speculative for me.
It's very speculative. But it feels like this is such a better year, and things are going much more smoothly, and everything sounds like, okay, we're not having to waddle through any transition issues, And so I feel like this has been a nice, smooth movement for him to get into the flow of all things Alabama, meaning Grubb. And I think this also, he fits DeBoer's personality in the sense that I'm sure DeBoer will chew somebody out if he has to. I'm sure of that. He's a football dude. All football dudes do generally. But he's not like his hands aren't as in the pie as much as Saban's were. And I'm not sure many coaches are like that. So I think DeBoer has sort of got the attitude of, hey, I'm the coach. I'm going to oversee the coaches. Yes, the players are involved and all that, but I want to make sure my coaches are doing the right thing. So it's a nice, smooth delegation.
I think one of the things that works really well coaching college age kids is the good cop, bad cop dynamic. Mm-hmm. And it was there with Saban in the sense that the assistants were the good cop and Saban was the bad cop. Saban was the guy that was chewing ass, as he puts it. And the assistants were there to lift the kids up. The assistants lift the kids up. Saban chews ass, and then the assistants are there to pick them back up. With DeBoer, same thing. Now that he's hired Grubb, Grubb is a bad cop kind of coach. He's fiery. He has no problem getting in someone's cookies. That's a Grubb thing. And then DeBoer is there to be the guy that lifts them up. And by the way, Grubb's not the only coach. Kane Womack coaches his guys hard. Freddie Roach coaches his guys really hard. Because I've seen a lot of this. He's Marine drill sergeant type. DeBoer is a nice guy. I wonder, like what Luke was just, my first thought as Luke mentioned that is, I wonder if last year's not a criticism. Nick Sheridan's a nice guy. He's super nice. He's a teacher. I mean, Nick Sheridan is a teacher. He's a ball coach, but he's a teacher first. He's not a screamer and a yeller, and neither is DeBoer. So you wonder with Jalen and the quarterbacks last year, what voices were in their head? Well, nice guy Nick Sheridan, nice guy Kalen DeBoer. There wasn't the fiery voice. Now you introduce Grubb into the room. Now you got the fiery voice to go along with Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer. It's a good mix now in terms of what's in the kids' heads. It's not just the one voice, because I think Nick Sheridan and Kalen DeBoer are just very similar personality-wise. Grubb is different, and I like it because, again, coaching this age kid, good cop, bad cop sort of works.
Yeah, and again, I think you're right. I think that it's good to have the tear you down, build you back up thing, because you want to build them back up in the mold that helps your coaching style and helps your team and takes on your personality. So very happy with that. What else from scrimmage stood out to you? Anything? We've already talked about the kicking. One thing we put on the list, like on the far right there yesterday, and I don't think we mentioned it, was kick returners.
Yep. Yeah. Now I find it interesting that Kalen DeBoer, when asked about this, the first name out of his mouth on the kick returner was Rico Scott. And I find that fascinating because Rico has the makeup of an outstanding kick returner. Kick returners have to be two things. One, fast, and Rico's got that. He's one of the fastest guys on the team, arguably the fastest. I don't think that's true, but he would be close. Rico's very fast. But kick returners, unlike punt returners, are make you miss guys. Kick returners are going to have to run through a tackle or two. Kick returners have to have a little bit more of a running back in them. They're going to have to break a tackle or two. It's not about the punt returner. The punt returner, if he's going to make a big play, it's always about making the first guy, the second guy miss. You have to be shifty and twitchy. Kick returner has to be a little more solidly built because you're going to have to run through a tackle to make a big play, or at least run through contact to make as much yardage as you can. And Rico is fast. He's also big and strong. I like it. I would just throw in that DeBoer's a little different than a lot of other coaches. We probably don't talk about this enough. DeBoer likes using multiple guys. He doesn't like just leaning on one kick returner, one punt returner. For whatever reason, and I'm sure he's answered this before, and I can't just spit out the answer. I'll look it up because it is interesting, but he just believes in having multiple punt returners. I know Cole Adams was hurt last year, and Cole was a primary punt returner, but even when Cole was healthy, he wasn't the only one returning punts. And last year, returning punts for Alabama, Cole Adams, Jalen Mbakwe, and Ryan Williams. They were all out there. And DeBoer mentioned when asked about this that he has total confidence in a guy like Jeremy Bernard also returning punts, though we didn't see him in that role last year. It was Ryan, Bach, and Cole. I think once again, we're going to see multiple kick returners and multiple punt returners. It's just like that's just how DeBoer likes to do it.
And there's part of me that goes, I don't want Ryan Williams doing it. It just scares me to death. You don't want him hurt. And then the other side of me is like, well, I mean, it's like my wife used to say whenever I bought a new shirt or something, like I don't buy a lot of new stuff. You can probably watch this podcast and say I don't buy a lot of new clothes, but like I'll buy something. I'll be like, I don't want to wear. I don't want to get, I don't want to get it dirty. Get it dirty. He's like, well, then what'd you buy it for?
Then why'd you buy it?
And that's a good point. Like, what do we have Ryan Williams for? If we're not, we used Devontae Smith in 2020 for punt returns a couple of times, and the first time I remember seeing him. I mean, I think he did it before this, but I know he went out there against Arkansas and he got the first punt and he goes for 6.
Yeah, my wife does the same thing on game days. I have some really nice Alabama shirts. They're really nice ones. I wear them on game days or I want to, but almost every Saturday morning of game day, I'll put on like one of my really nice Alabama shirts and the wife's always, don't wear that. That's one of your nicest shirts. I'm like, well, then are we going to frame it? And just hang it on.
Sign it. You sign it.
I could have sworn we bought this to wear. But
that would be cool if we just. That's what we should do.
She does make a good point though. On the sense that game day, I like wearing my nicest shirts on game day. And what do I do on game day? I drink beer all day long, eat food standing up.
On yourself.
Well, I eat food standing up. Drink beer for 8 hours. So she's, as usual, she's probably smarter than I am on this issue. But I literally have game day shirts. I have 5 or 6 shirts that I tell myself I'm only going to wear these on game days.
I've got to talk about this just incredibly stupid idea the Big Ten has come up with. This is why we can't let the Big Ten be in charge of anything. We're talking about this on the next segment.
Can't let them have nice things.
We're going to talk a little game time. Y'all know I love it. Y'all know I use it all the time. I mean, I'm not just telling you stuff. Look, I love DripDrop. I've used them a lot. I've used Game Time. I've used all these apps a lot. Game Time is the one I typically don't even look at the live read because I know it so well, because I have used it a lot and they have helped me out, but I am going to use the live read this time, so bear with me. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with friends or family? Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last-minute tickets without the stress. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app usually drop closer you get to first pitch or tip-off or kickoff or whatever, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. Take the guesswork out of buying those tickets, y'all, with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply, because terms apply to everything. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, and that's a Jimmy Stein guarantee. All right, so the Big Ten has, in their infinite wisdom, they are floating the idea of a 24 to 2018 playoff. Jimmy, first of all, for all those who told us, when Jimmy and I were like, we don't want expansion because the first thing that's going to happen is people are going to want to expand even more. And everybody said, no, they're not. They're not going to do that. 12's plenty. 12's plenty. I was like, well, okay. I mean, I just know what's going to happen.
I knew it would be 16 for sure.
So then they've already said we're doing 16. They just hadn't figured out how, essentially. They've essentially said that. Now the Big Ten's like, I don't know why we're stopping at 16. Let's go 24, 28. Here's their plan. If it were 28, seven auto bids for the SEC and Big Ten, 5 auto bids for the Big 12 and ACC, 2 auto bids for the non-power schools, and 2 at-larges. And as Dusty Dvorak said this morning, why do we need any more at-larges? This is everybody. This is all of them. What are we even playing a regular season for anymore? And this is why you can't, when somebody wants to come in and tinker with the most beautiful thing in sports, which is college football, it's the best thing going. And the reason it's one of the best and most unique is because it is different, because we don't do this cookie cutter playoff crap that everybody else was doing. We don't have to suffer through the Denver Nuggets playing the Phoenix Suns in a 4-5 matchup where both teams are basically 500 and have to act like this is such a big deal. No, these are 2 crappy teams, and we just have to, it's a malaise through the entire NBA playoffs until the end. College football is not that way. Every weekend is pressure packed. Every weekend's a big freaking deal. And we took it and we stomped on it because it wasn't good enough for the smaller schools who said, we don't get a chance. Well, no offense, you ain't contributing much. We appreciate what the little you bring to the table, but I'm not going to let the person who brings, the smallest gift to the office Christmas party decide what kind of punch we're going to have. I mean, it's so dumb. And I like
that analogy. That's awesome.
Well, listen to this. Listen to who would be in the playoffs last year if we did this moronic, idiotic idea. In the playoffs, from the ACC, you would have these 5 teams automatically now. It's not like we picked them. These are your auto bids. SMU, who shouldn't have been in the 12-team playoff.
They probably shouldn't be in the 2018 playoff either.
Yeah. Clemson,
okay,
Miami, Syracuse, and Louisville.
Last year's Syracuse and Louisville teams were just very average when compared to the elite of the sport. It's just outrageous. I would rather. No one's going to ask me. I'd rather go back to the BCS and have 2.
100%.
I'd rather have 2 than 28.
And how about this?
At least when you have 2, people cared about the bowl games when you only had 2, by the way. At 28, is there still going to be bowl games? I mean, are even the players' parents going to show up to them? I mean,
all right. So here's the 7 teams from the Big Ten. Oregon, Penn State, Indiana, Ohio State. Okay, they all made the 12. Indiana was a paper tiger. We all knew it, but they only lost 1 game in a Power 5, so we get it. Then Illinois. Okay. I don't guess it hurts my feelings, but we know
they won. They won 10 games and beat.
They're not even close to a national championship team. All you got to do is watch the games. Then Iowa.
Oh my gosh.
if you want to, what are you going to do? Participate in a sleep study during that game? I can't imagine anything worse than watching an Iowa playoff game.
Well, how about this? Iowa versus Louisville in the playoff. I mean, what are we doing?
And then Michigan gets in. Now everybody says, "Well, they beat Alabama," but they did. We're not even.
They finished 7-5. I mean, they were a 7-5 football team.
It's so dumb that I can't believe somebody didn't say, "Don't ever say that." You know, Shane Gillis had this whole bit about. I don't even know if I can say it. I do want to tell y'all, but he had this whole bit about an event that is very popular. That is that when he. I can't even say the event because I don't want to get in trouble. People who know Shane Gillis know what I'm talking about. And he said the event is great and it's perfect and it's super. He said, but it's kind of crazy that somebody came up with this event and like, yeah, he said it's super, but it's like the first guy to come up with this event was like, everybody was like, don't ever say that again. Don't ever talk about it. And that's what I'm like. I'm like, the Big Ten should have asked, they should have asked the ACC, like, what do y'all think about
Can we say this out loud?
And the ACC should go, don't ever tell anybody you even thought of that. It's so terrible. We, as the ACC, think it's terrible.
The regular season has to be protected at all cost, as the joke on social media goes, protected at any cost. And here, look, the NFL is the most popular league in the world, certainly the most popular league in the U.S. I love the NFL. I know Luke loves the NFL too. What NFL regular season matchup is delicious, to use a term? What regular season matchup is, oh my gosh, if only the Cowboys played the Lions. I mean, pick any two teams. I know that the NFL has some rivalries, mostly because you're just in the same division, like the Steelers and the Ravens or the Steelers and the Browns. But is there really, outside of Steelers fans and Browns fans, is there this national thing of, oh gosh, we can't wait till the Steelers Browns? No, we can't wait for any NFL game because we love the NFL. But there's not particular regular season matchups that move the country. In college football, we have that. Michigan, Ohio State, Alabama, Auburn, Alabama, Tennessee, Ohio State's going to play Tech. Everybody that is a football fan in the U.S. knows Ohio State is playing Texas week 1. How many of you, other than being a specific fan of your favorite NFL team, okay, let's say if you're a Saints fan, you probably know who you're playing week 1. I'm not a fan of any one particular NFL team. The only week 1 matchup I can name is the one that they're going to play on Thursday night. I think they're playing a game Friday in Brazil, and I think the Packers are in it, but I can't really remember. It doesn't matter. I like all the NFL games, but there's not particular matchups that captivate America. College football has that. And if you have a 2018 playoff, then that is over. You've destroyed the one thing that makes college football so special, the regular season and these delicious matchups that matter so much. They won't matter at all if you have a 2018 playoff. It won't matter. Alabama could lose to Vanderbilt. And you know what Jimmy and Luke are going to say after the show? It doesn't matter. We're getting in. You can't have that.
Here's the other thing, Jimmy. You know what I love is occasionally, not even, I don't even know if I would call it once a year, like just occasionally, there will be an NFL game that'll have a raucous environment that'll be really cool. Like when the Lions got good again, you know, and I can't even remember one of the teams they played, but I remember thinking, man, that environment's pretty awesome. You know what that environment reminds me of?
College football.
Every God almighty college game I've ever seen.
College football game. Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. Like the NFL, for all its greatness, and we bow before the NFL. We love the shield. But college football is its own thing. College football is your high school sweetheart that you'll always have a soft spot for. Yeah, you had to marry the really successful woman. She's probably a little boring or man or whatever, but she's still good looking and everything's great. But every now and again, you think about your high school sweetheart and goes, nothing ever going to top that. And that's what I'm saying. Like the NFL even is like, we have a college atmosphere. Well, we have that all the time. Well, we had it, and now we're destroying it. We're destroying what did George Costanza call himself as the world's colliding. You're killing independent George.
Independent George.
We're killing independent George. And for no reason. We don't have to do this. We don't. I know that everything in the world is about a money grab. I understand that. I get it. And it saddens me.
Maybe this is all negotiation. It could be the Big Ten came up with this crazy, stupid idea to get the SEC to agree to what to the 16 team with the AQs that the SEC currently doesn't want to do. Maybe the SEC will go, all right, we'll agree to the first thing that you came up with because we're not doing this.
I know, but
we'll do the first thing now, but we ain't doing that.
As you being a lawyer, you know this, especially in things like divorces, where it's lawyers, contrary to popular belief, most of them have good common sense, but they might go into a negotiation and say, okay, we want $10 million, and the guy goes, I don't even have $10 million. That's our starting point. Okay, I've got 500,000. You want half of that? We'll take it. What you do is you throw out something so arbitrary and stupid so that it seems like you're given a concession too. But when you put this idea out into the universe, I can't unknow it. And I know that the Big Ten is the dumbest organization on the planet now to think anybody would like this outside of Purdue. I can't imagine why anybody would be on board with 28 teams in a college football playoff. We'd ruin everything that's super about this sport.
I one time negotiated a child custody matter, and it was a brilliant. I worked my butt off to get my client time with their child that they otherwise didn't believe would happen, and the whole thing was an inch away from falling apart because my client was refusing to give up the big green egg.
Oh my God.
I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding.
Did he end up giving it up?
That almost happened.
Did he give it up? I want to know.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I threatened to you're just going to have to get another look. I mean, I work my butt off to win your kid. Go get, you can literally buy another one of these.
Was he planning to smoke the kid?
It was something about, it was a wedding present. It was a wedding present.
Oh God,
it was a wedding present
give me a break.
from my own parents. How can the other side get? I'm like, well, shoot me, but I'm sort of focused on the kid.
Look, I'm not going to say again, if
that story illustrates why I'm a sports podcaster now.
Yes.
And after 20 years of that, I just want to talk ball.
I'm going to throw out a scenario that may or may not have happened, may or may not have involved me recently. And if you insist on tying this into football, I will tie this into football in a way. But I know somebody who had their soulmate, the love of their life, pass away after about 35 years, and somebody was helping that person move out of their tailgating spot. Right. They had this big tailgating spot, and now she no longer really wanted to tailgate anymore. She wasn't a big football fan. He was, and she just loved to be with him and all this stuff. And they were told, hey, look, you can be sort of pack radish when you lose somebody, when somebody dies on you, and especially when you're older, like you're not thinking straight sometimes. And I totally get it. And you need to sell some of your stuff, even if it's at a bargain basement price, just because you don't want to jam up your house. Because what happens is, what if you pass away? Then everybody's got to deal with all the crap you kept that nobody likes.
Like the big green egg.
I was like, at least like a green egg, you can at least. Well, there was a wood burning something, and this person was like, yeah, go ahead and sell that. And so it was sold for a very decent price, very small price, very nothing. Well, it turns out another family member called at the last second and said, hey, I really wanted that. And so they tried to renege on it, and it may or may not have been me that said, no, there's no reneging on this. It's sold, it's gone, because guess who's going to have to deal with it? Me. So no, we're not doing that. And but my point is that what is my point? Oh, that when you get in these negotiations and you get into divorces, you get into deaths, you get into all this, people from other areas of life even get sentimental about something. I was like, hey, if that person wanted this wood burning thing so bad, he's been passed away for like 8 months now, and she's never brought it up. So if it meant so much, why didn't you come get it? So, you know, I'm trying.
Hopefully, this Big Ten plan doesn't mean that much to them as the wood burning item here. Hopefully, the Big Ten isn't. It wouldn't be something if we got deep in negotiations and they're still hanging on to this. No, we want the 28 team. When everybody else is like, we'll go to 2 before we'll go to 28, but they're like, it's got to be 28.
Yeah, we're getting so far away from the BCS now. Like, I guess when you just put a number out there, it's so dumb. And look,
BCS worked for Alabama. I don't know about everybody else, but the BCS was working for Alabama.
Well, everybody loved Mike Leach, but I think they loved him not because he had great ideas, because he was silly and lovable. He said he wanted a 64 team. I think everybody goes, "Oh, Mike Leach." Oh. But like, if somebody in power does it, we go, "What is? Are you touched? What is wrong with you?"
Eli Drinkwitz has been in favor of a large playoff. I'm sure he's probably excited about the Big Ten's idea.
We don't need to take ideas from Eli Drinkwitz either. If you're not coaching one of the top 10 teams in the country right now, I don't want to hear from you.
It does sound like when he said what he said, I mean, no shot at Missouri, who I think, by the way, is going to be a very good team this year, and they're a really good program right now. But when Eli Drinkwitz said we need to expand the playoff, it comes across to me as we need so many teams you can't help but invite my team. And that's the way it kind of comes across to me. And it's sort of like the Big Ten. And one final point about the Big Ten, the thing that infuriates me a little bit about we'll have 7 AQs and the SEC will have 7 AQs. Are we really going to negotiate a deal that sort of puts us on equal footing with the Big Ten? Shouldn't, as the SEC, we say, hey, if anybody's getting a lot of AQs, it's us and everyone else is getting less. We're the best league. We shouldn't be on equal footing with anyone. I mean,
our argument should be, excuse us, under your plan, is it true or untrue Iowa would be involved? They go, well, Iowa would be in. We're out. We're out. We're out. We're out. And again, I'm not trying to make fun of Iowa. But you should be making fun of Iowa because y'all can't score on anybody for any reason at any time. And until you get an offense that can move the ball straightforwardly, I'm not sure we should be taking advice from them. So
the straightforwardly offense.
All right. All right. That's going to do it for today's pod. We went 7 minutes over. Who cares? Until next time, roll tide, everybody.
Roll tide.